too. All right, now we are on to Survivor Guatemala season 11 in our looking back on Survivor series. So, Alex, give us your overall thoughts on Survivor Guatemala, the Maya Empire.
Oh
Apparently, that's the
man,
subtitle. I did not remember that being the subtitle to the season. It's on the logo. I did not remember that.
I don't either. And let's be honest here, okay? You've got the two biggest losers from Palau returning to be the
No, no, no,
captains.
no, 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 no. Wanda and Jonathan. Is his name Jonathan? Is that?
I think so.
Oh, I don't remember now already. Those are the two biggest losers. But yes, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, so they were on the losing tribe. They were the final two of the losing
The
tribe.
final
And
losers.
yes, the final losers, and all of a sudden now they're going to be the captains of the two tribes here on Survivor Guatemala, and you're going to go through this crazy entire trek of I don't know how many miles it was. And whoever gets to this destination first, you get the really nice camp, and those that don't, you are screwed.
That trek, man. That
It
trek
was
was
insane.
insane. Everyone like passing out. Like that was legitimately wild.
Yeah,
It was almost
I
like they didn't test it or something. Like they didn't like just let's just see how hard this is. I don't know because they always do an incredible job of like making sure that the challenges and things are like really fair and also like tough but doable. You almost never see a scenario where people are like about to just give up and lay down
I
and
know.
die right there. It's crazy.
Well, I don't even know if they had much water with them either. So
That
like
was
they
part
just
of it
made this.
too. Yeah, I think they were probably dehydrated, but
Yeah, it was so hot. I mean, and if you remember anything, like they even had like a pool out in the middle of the water that was
yeah,
like guarded so that animals couldn't get in there. Like that's how crazy this was. And so it was an interesting way to start the season. It was just funny to see Bobby John and Stephanie looking over the tribe and waving, and then you had your first ever celebrity, a former Colts quarterback.
yeah,
Don't know if you remember he played for the Colts, but Gary
yeah.
Hogaboom, is that how you say his
Gary
last name?
Hogaboom, yeah.
Yeah.
The
And
guy that the whole season he's like I'm not a quarterback, and then like proceeded to act like a
he's a
quarterback.
landscaper.
He act like a quarterback. Like he just act like an athlete. Like everything he did, I was like, you're acting like an athlete though. Like I know you keep saying you're not, but like you just act like it. And he tried to
The
be like, yeah, I played a little bit. Didn't he say like he plays? Did he say he played in college or something like that? I don't remember.
yeah.
I might be getting some of that mixed up with Danny from 41 because he said that he played in college as a walk on. I think he said, and then he coached some. So like I know
Gotcha.
like a lot of these athletes try to downplay it, but it's like what are the odds are pretty decently solid that someone's gonna recognize you. So I don't know why we're
Yeah.
lying out here. Like I understand why you wouldn't want to be like, yeah, I made lots of money playing football, but like at the same time, you're gonna get caught in that lie, aren't you? Like
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, if you say you're a professional football player, like you're probably gonna get voted out. So like I kudos to him for
Yeah,
saying he was a landscaper and trying to like hide his image, but Danny
yeah.
knew who he was
Danny knew
because she was a
immediately. Yeah,
sportscaster. And so she's like, that's Gary Hogan and I'm like, okay.
yeah.
And if you saw him, he almost looked like it almost looked like a replica Brett Favre
He
from
looks
a
kind of like
regular
Brett
commercial.
Favre. Yeah,
And that's so I was like, man, why does this guy remind me of Brett Favre? I don't know who this guy is. I've never even heard of Gary Hogaboom. I knew he was a Colts quarterback after the season was over, but I didn't know he was anybody famous. So I'm like,
yeah,
didn't really, you know, I wasn't starstruck when I saw him out there playing Survivor like I was when Jimmy Johnson was out there for in Nicaragua, right? Like, totally different level of
Mm,
celebrity there. But
yeah.
it was interesting because this season, David, is the first season of the Hidden Immunity Idol.
That's right.
And of course, Gary is the guy that found it.
Yeah,
And yeah, so this was an interesting season. I found myself because I really enjoyed watching Stephanie as the underdog in the previous season of Palau. I found myself instantly gravitating towards her and her tribe. I was like, I'm all team Stephanie. I'm a big fan of her. And I just like the way she played the game. But in this season, it's a little different. We'll talk about that here in a minute. But
yeah,
I just thought not a ton of great people in the cast here. Very forgettable cast,
yeah.
in my opinion. And they really did need someone like Stephanie and Bobby John returning to kind of
Yeah,
make
can you
this
imagine
cast
this cast without Stephanie and Bobby John?
terrible.
Um,
I mean, thank God for
it's
Lydia
rough
and
because
Rafe.
even some of the highlights, like I mean, we can talk about Judd at some point. He's one of the more like he's one
He's
of the
funny.
louder. He's funnier. He's louder. He's good TV, but he also is like kind of a jerk. Like does some things. So like I wouldn't have been like wanting him to win necessarily. And there's other people too that you're like, yeah, they're not bad TV, like Jamie, but like,
Uh-huh.
do you really want him to win? It's like there's no one to really root for if you don't count Stephanie and Bobby John, right?
Yeah.
Um,
How I felt. But
I
it might have also hurt the cast that they were back.
probably maybe
Maybe they
maybe
didn't shine as much.
yeah, maybe the edit was different because there's these two people that are returning players going to take up a bunch of time. That's definitely a possibility. I will say I think there's a reality where maybe they don't play that Brian Gordon stands out a little bit more.
Mhm.
He was the person in the pre-merge that was my favorite. The bait Blake episode where they vote out Blake Townsley or Towsley, I don't know how you say his last name, but that was one of my favorite episodes of Survivor to this point. Where they just like constantly like those big billows that you like pump air into the fireplace to make the fire hotter, you know what I mean? The
Yeah,
little like
yeah.
bags that you like squeeze it and it pushes air in the fire. They were just like pumping his ego up like billows in a fire and just to make him like annoy everybody so they could vote him out. Like
Yeah.
it's so good. And Brian just like deliberately doing everything he can to get him to talk about himself and the girls that he's dated and yada yada yada. I was just like, oh my God, this is too good. It's
It was
so
great.
funny. And just the fact that it wasn't just like it did, like we've seen episodes where something gets voted off for being annoying. Like that's not new or like all that entertaining. It's fine. It can be entertaining based off of the person, but in this case it wouldn't have been that entertaining. But Brian made it entertaining by being like, okay, I see an opening where I can get out who I want to get out by shining a light on him in a way that will help me get my way. And that made it entertaining to me. So I can see him. He's like the one person out of the premiers that I would have like thought, hey, this guy could have maybe been someone I could have rooted for in the post merge if they could have gotten to that point in the game.
No, and I agree with that, and I remember that, episode very well. Bait Blake was hilarious,
Yeah,
and really enjoyed Brian. Unfortunately, he didn't last long enough for this, but I will say, I kind of hinted at it earlier, but Jamie and Bobby John competing against one another
that
and screaming
rivalry,
in each other's faces, like,
craziness.
just testosterone overload right there, and it was so cringe, but so,
Hmm.
like, I laughed so hard because it was so bad.
Hmm.
Like, these 2 guys, I'm like, "You guys are having, like, a mid-off right now." It's
Yep.
like it's like, "What is happening right here?" So I
We're
thought
both
that was
underperforming and we're so mad. It was
yes.
just like, oh,
God, there's, like, 2 bros just going at it, and I'm like, "Okay,
yeah,
this is so dumb." I mean, honestly, I think Gary was one of the most likable characters on the show. I think if Gary wasn't a celebrity, he probably is a
yeah,
returning player.
yeah, maybe. Or the other thing is I wonder if he reminded people of Tom. It's the season after Tom.
It's fair.
Like, I know a lot of times the seasons before don't get to watch. They usually don't get to watch the full season. They usually get to watch like half or maybe a little bit more than half. But like you still would have seen in the first half of that season that Tom is like a powerhouse. And I wonder, and if you were Stephanie, then you know exactly what happened with Tom. So I wonder
Mhm.
if a few people were like, "Yeah, we're not letting Gary get to the end," you know.
Yeah.
Uh, and he showed himself to be capable in the challenges in this season without being compared to Tom. So, but yeah, he's someone that I could have rooted for. I'm sure. He probably out of everybody that's new on this season, the people that I would have thought could have returned would be
He was really good.
Rafe, Judd, and Gary would be the three that I
Yeah.
would say had a shot. And Judd, just because like if they're bringing people back like Big Tom, right? He's kind of in that archetype where
Yeah.
he's like just the big, loud, funny guy. Um, doesn't really do anything else other than that, right? So,
Mm.
but he fits a role for a TV show. He fits like an entertaining factor of that. Rafe is the guy that's the strategy guy. Um, so I can see, him being brought back as being a fan and being someone who's more strategic and that kind of thing. Um, and then Gary's kind of like a little bit more well-rounded than either one of them, obviously. But
Yeah. I mean, I think honestly this season was run by Rafe and Stephanie and their alliance together and they
hmm
and them getting Judd to kind of swing his vote towards, joining the Nunacum when
yeah,
Stephanie and Rafe did eventually switch in the swap, the
yeah,
tribe swap. But I mean, it was tough. I think that Stephanie was her own worst enemy in this season because she
yeah,
just turned her back on everybody. and broke all of her alliances. And so she almost kind of had like a Russell Hantz type of season because she's recasted as a hero later on when they have heroes versus villains. But I thought she was pretty villainous in this season here. So she was a hero in the first one, a true villain in the second one. So
Mhm.
she could have been an either or just because she's a really good person, obviously. Like, she didn't try to play the game and be like ruthless like
Yeah.
Russell, but she was such a backstabber and she was trying to do what was best for her. Like, she told Judd's wife, "Oh, we're going to the final three." And like the
Yep.
next time they go to tribal council, Judd goes. And it's just like, wow, like she really just buried a lot of the alliances she made and just turned on her own people. And she thought they could take Danny with her to the finale over Lydia, which I thought was a bad decision.
Yeah. And, it's a really good example of mismanaging a jury, right?
Mhm.
Because there's a possibility that could never get Judd's vote if she voted him off, but to vote him off like that just makes it almost impossible that you get his vote,
Mhm.
right? It's one thing to just tell his wife, like, yeah, we're working together, we've been in an alliance, or yeah, whatever, but to say we're going to the final three together and then to vote him off that round, like that's like, yeah, like it's almost like you're promising things and then just immediately like it's just that's a little bit much if you're gonna
Mhm.
expect to get people's votes. So that's kind of the thing that like certain players have misunderstood, and I'm kind of coming to this realization as we speak here. I think Danny is kind of plays like that Erica game from season 41, whereas like she's deliberately trying to stay under the radar but she also is, like, not always absolutely under the radar and not, incapable of doing certain things, but so it's a very, like, deliberate thing, but also
Mhm.
she is making the choice towards the end to kind of go with certain people over other people based off of who she thinks she can beat, and she's not phrasing it that way, but we know that's what she's doing based off of confessionals and that kinda thing, like, she was like, "Okay, well, if I go with Stephanie, everyone's mad at Stephanie, right? She's like, "Oh, if I work with people like Judd, like no one, I don't think Judd would have gotten votes at the end. Would Lydia have gotten votes in the end? I don't think so. So it's like she's picking these people based off of being able to beat them at the end, which is a lot like what Erica did in
Mhm.
41, where you get Ricard out, and it's like, okay, everyone else here is for different reasons, other than maybe Danny, but other than those two, it's like you get those two out and you're kind of golden if you're Erica. And I think Danny is kind of in a similar boat where she made those choices to get herself to the end where she had been so under the radar that nobody was really looking at her. But then you get to the end with people that aren't likable, and you're like, well, here I am. I'm likable. Vote for me. Right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and you gotta realize, I mean, she was outnumbered 5-1 with the new Nakum as well. So like
mhm.
they just didn't respect her at all as like a legitimate threat, but they should have known
Yeah.
who was on the jury and what they did. So I think, like you said, it was just mismanagement. And then we do need to talk about this. One of the worst ultimatums in a reward challenge for Cindy. It's like, hey, you can get this brand new car, or you can get
That's
everybody
right.
else a new car. What do you wanna do? And I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" Like, she's either gonna give, Lydia, Rafe, Stephanie, and Danny new cars, or she gets a new car, and so she ends up saying, "You know what? Screw it. I'm keeping the new car, and if anybody knows, whoever wins the car, reward challenge
Yeah.
always gets eliminated, they never win the game," and so, surprisingly enough, she takes Stephanie on reward with her. She thinks she's got this nice bond with Stephanie, and then all of a sudden, guess who votes her out? After that, after the next tribal council, Stephanie and Rape kind of spearhead that, and there goes Cindy, and there goes Stephanie and Rape, just putting more people on the jury that don't like them. So, but Stephanie got the brunt, I think, of all
Yeah.
of the decision making because I think people thought she was calling the shots more than Rafe.
Yeah, well, and also, I mean, at the end, there was nobody else there with her that was a part of that group,
That's
right? It was
true.
just
That's
her and
true.
Danny. So maybe
Yeah.
if it had been a final three with Rafe and Stephanie and Danny, then maybe Rafe would have gotten some grief too. I don't know. But that decision with the car is a classic case of Survivor thinking like, oh, this is a tough decision, without realizing and thinking it through that like both choices screw Cindy, right?
Yes.
So if she keeps the car, she's selfish. She's earned a car, a brand new car. So now everyone's like, why should we vote? Why should we keep her? Let's get her out of here. She doesn't need to win any money because she got a car. If
Mhm.
she gives everyone else the car, then everyone's now like, oh my God, she's gonna get everyone loves Cindy. Wow, everyone's gonna want to take her to the end. Everyone's gonna want to like vote for her to win it. Everyone loves Cindy. She's so likable. She gives all cars. We have to vote her off. She's too big of a threat. Either way, she's gonna be voted off. So
Mm.
that's why if I ever played Survivor, you never try to win a reward challenge. You never win a reward challenge. You lose the reward challenges. The loved ones especially and the car one especially, which they don't do that anymore, but you throw those challenges and just hope to get taken along or just don't worry about it because it is a kiss of death.
It is a kiss of death. I'm watching Nicaragua right now, and I'm currently just laughing at what just happened at the reward challenges when it was the loved ones reward challenge and,
Yeah.
and Chase won. Everybody was so mad at him when they didn't take him, didn't take them with him on the reward challenge.
Yeah.
So it's tough, and I don't like that Survivor always does that, but it would be nice if they just said, okay, if you win the reward challenge, you get to go, but nobody else gets to go. I think there was one season that I don't know if we've talked about it or not already, but I feel like they had the loved one pick who they wanted to bring with them instead of making the survivor pick, which I
Hmm.
think that is an interesting twist because
I don't remember. So I don't
yeah,
remember either way whether we've talked about that or not. I don't remember it.
yeah,
I can't like pull up that memory. So
yeah,
I know there's been some times where loved ones were involved in the challenge.
yeah,
And
they
some
were
some
involved in the challenge and then they
and
actually
they
picked. They
picked.
were like, loved
Yeah.
one, you pick. I can't
Interesting.
remember.
Yeah, I can't remember
It
either. Okay, well, any final thoughts on I'm kind of done with Guatemala. So I would give Guatemala like maybe a 2 out of 5. It's not terrible for sure. But it's definitely on the lower end of the first what is it? Is this is 11, right? So it's
mhm,
definitely out of the first 11, it's probably my third from the bottom out of the first 11. Thailand, Vanuatu in this season
mhm.
will be the three that are kind of down there together.
I
Um,
would agree.
yeah. Anything else you want to add, or do you want to move on?
No, I mean, it was just nice seeing Stephanie on the island for 2 seasons in a row. I mean,
Yeah,
that's all I'm gonna say. She was a fun person to watch, and
yeah.
she did Bobby John right though, because Bobby John all he wanted to do was make the merge for the second time he played, and she
He made
allowed
it.
she allowed allowed him to make it by voting off Brandon before
Yeah.
they voted out Bobby
And
John.
did
So
he? Oh no, he wasn't even the one that voted for her though. That's hilarious. I think it was Rafe was the one that voted for her.
I think so, yeah.
That's
I think
so
Bobby John
funny.
was mad just because he saw how shady she was,
I
but
know, but like, I don't know,
come
whatever.
on, Bobby John, what are we doing, man? You guys are close.
All right, so that is Survivor Guatemala.
Mm.